yes,
Do you want
yes,
us
yes.
to go over there?
Get your B-roll, get your B-roll.
Maybe, let's see, I don't want anybody to get run over. What's the best?
We shouldn't be in.
Yeah, you know what, maybe we should, yeah, let's get off the street and we'll stand right there.
On the sidewalk.
Yeah. Let's do it there. So we'll come, do you want us to face here? We'll get, I want to make sure.
Yeah, members off. Members need to be off.
Yeah, maybe we get over here. How's this? And everybody has space and members can, Tom and Jan.
If you lose all four of us, it'll be in the door together.
Yeah, let's see. And Gil, where's Gil?
Right behind you.
All right, Gil. And then Tom and Jan.
Nice to see you again.
All right, thank you. Okay, so you all, Jan, come on up, Jan. So most of our members had to peel off to go to the airport. So there's 4 of us who remained, everybody else went on a bus just now or had to leave just a little while ago. So here's what we did today. Day 2, yeah, should we back up? So day 2, we heard from advocates and lawyers because we wanted to know from them what the challenges were, what the opportunities are, ideas for solutions. We then heard from experts on trade, local subject matter experts on trade, the impact that having essentially a partially shut down border because of the port hardening and the movement of OFO personnel to Border Patrol, what that's done to the local economy and our ability to move people and goods. Also saw an HHS facility where kids are held. Went to one of the Annunciation House hospitality centers on the Far East Side, and then ended our tour here. Something that I want you all to know about the tour here. So my office had requested over a week ago, or about a week ago, as we were making the arrangements for all of our members to take the tour, my district director alerted ICE that we were going to want to speak to people in our detention or in our custody. We said the same thing to Border Patrol. We said the same thing to HHS. All 3 entities knew the number of members who were going to be getting the tour and that we were going to be wanting to talk to people in American custody. You all saw Border Patrol or heard about the fact that Border Patrol helped us out, and they allowed every member to go into the cells on a rotating basis to talk to anybody that members of Congress wanted to talk to. HHS, all they asked was, can you break it, when they initially said your group is really big. So we said, can we break it down into 2 groups? They said, great idea. So we did 2 groups. We broke up the groups so that in order to make it work, because it is a large group. It is a reasonable request to make it easier. We got a no on the 31st from ICE because the group's too big. So my team was negotiating, well, can we break it down into small groups, or what can we do to make it work? This morning we got a hard no. We asked DC, like we took it up to DC, like, hey, we have 20 members of Congress here who want to speak to folks in American custody. Can we break up the group, etc.? Hard no. So we get here, and Congressman Malinowski wanted to, try to find a way to make it work. Ultimately, what they told us was, look, we'll give you the tour, and if you and there's people usually in the library, so go to the library, and we have no objection if you talk to people in the library. Now, want you to know also, there are hunger strikers in there who I've spoken to because I have permission from their lawyers. Their lawyer, or from their one lawyer, their lawyer gave us, all 20, permission to speak to the hunger strikers. We were denied that ability because we gave short notice. We gave short notice because I know that people get moved all the time. And my fear was that the hunger strikers would be moved before we could talk to them. Anyhow, so we get taken to the library, lo and behold, no one is there. There's no one inside the library. And as we're walking out, and I will tell you, I was very frustrated and very irritated. Not with the personnel. Yeah, I want to make that clear because there's always an accusation that, well, you don't support the people working in the facilities. This is with leadership, okay? This is an issue with leadership and with policy. As we were walking out, I saw 4 women and I literally ran up to them and asked them if we could talk to them. And I'm going to let Congressman Malinowski talk about what happened next.
Thank you.
Come right over here.
Thanks. So not too much to add to that. I will say, before I was a member of Congress, I was at the U.S. State Department. I was our Assistant Secretary of State for Human Rights and Democracy around the world. I've been to prisons, detention facilities all over the world, usually in dictatorships where you have to negotiate access in advance. There is no such thing as a valid visit to a detention facility if you cannot speak privately to the detainees for obvious reasons, right? If you ask, how are you being treated here, and you've got, the warden or prison official standing there, you're not going to necessarily get an honest answer. So as you heard, the response we got was a hard no until we got here. We decided collectively we were not going to conduct this tour unless we had the opportunity at least to speak to detainees. So we requested the meeting in advance. We ultimately, as you heard, negotiated inadequate access, but at least the ability to talk to some folks. When we found that group, they were more than willing to speak with us, and at that point we didn't have that much time. We used it as best as we could. The detention facility officials were standing right there. A couple of moments they even interrupted to try to explain what they thought was going on. And so the one thing I can say with confidence, the one thing we can say with confidence about conditions in this facility is that we can say nothing with confidence about conditions in this facility because we were not provided the access that is required to be able to evaluate that. I would stress that we had about 5% of the United States Congress here today. We just voted for a supplemental emergency appropriations bill to support basically everything that the administration asked for, including funding for ICE. Most of us voted for that. I voted for it. I had people demonstrating outside of my congressional office because I voted to support these guys. And we were not treated with the respect that 5% of the United States Congress should be treated with. This does not build confidence in whatever it is that they're doing in there. So that's
Had you known you were going to be treated this way, would you still vote for that bill?
I voted for that bill because it funded a lot of things that we saw today outside of this ICE facility that we thought were important. I mean, we saw, for example, the facility where kids are being held, run by ORR and HHS. Most of the funding in that bill was to enable particularly unaccompanied minors to be taken out of CBP custody and placed in much more appropriate settings. It was the right thing to do to support that funding for that reason. But I think you can gauge that we are all very pissed off at the decision that was made here today. This is the sort of thing, while complicated, that can be worked out in advance. We had about a week during which appropriate conditions could have been arranged for a visit like this. We would have respected whatever size group they wanted. If they wanted to say, okay, send 3 of your members in to talk to detainees and you can report out to the rest of us, that would be fine. Instead, there was clearly a decision made not to work with us in that way. We had to call an audible when we got here, make clear that this visit was just not going to happen unless they allowed us some access, so we got some access, but it was inadequate.
A judge just overturned a rule saying that a person, an immigrant, cannot claim asylum anywhere outside of a port of entry. Your thoughts on that?
I'm happy to, but if others want to, okay, I'll start. So that it's an obviously correct decision. The whole point of the asylum system, which dates back, as I said at the press conference yesterday, to our shameful experience of not allowing Jewish refugees from Europe before World War II, is that if somebody presents themselves and says, if you send me home, I will be killed, it's unconscionable to send them home. It doesn't matter whether it's a recognized point of entry, even though of course we prefer people to come in that way. or if they're escaping across a border. In many situations around the world, the only way a refugee can get to a place of safety is by crossing illegally into another country. And the law says, a law that we urge other countries to respect, that you have to hear them out. Not that you have to give them asylum. It just says you have to hear them out. You got to respect their right to ask.
So what did you learn from this tour if you didn't get the access that you wanted? I mean, what did you see?
I mean, we talked to, 4 of them, and maybe Jan, you want to say a few things about what we heard. But just to be we cannot say with confidence that we know what's happening in this facility based on the access that we got.
If I could just begin by saying, I am so impressed by the people of El Paso. We started at a shelter that is run by the Office of Refugee Resettlement. I shouldn't say run by, funded by, but it's a local place that's been for decades been in business to take care of children. They work so hard to identify family, and their definition of family is different in a facility like that than when you cross the border. They will consider grandparents. They will consider aunts and uncles and adult children as family. And so they move those children quickly out of this very comfortable, loving, welcoming center, and they house them. We went to the Annunciation, is that called? Annunciation House. A huge facility that was actually taking care of, more than 1,000 people. Now that people are being moved to Mexico, it's not that many. But they find families, they pack lunches, they find transportation. The warmth of the people of El Paso is so impressive. So I just wanted to say that. But I just talked to 2 young women. They're 20 years old. They're here. They came together. One is wearing a blue suit, one is wearing an orange suit. They're from Cuba. And I said, why is this person wearing an orange jumpsuit? I was told by one of the officials here that in order to be wearing a jumpsuit, it means that you have violated U.S. law unrelated to immigration. And so I said, did you commit some sort of crime here in the United States? And she said, no. And I really doubt, and we got her number. We're going to check. Has she even been in the United States before? Could she have committed this crime? And I would say almost half of the women that we saw, and men, were wearing these orange jumpsuits, presumably having broken U.S. law, not immigration law. And I want to find out, maybe it'll take some effort to get the information, but I want to know why they're wearing these orange suits saying that they're criminals. So we were very disappointed that we were blocked from talking to the people that we wanted, anybody that we wanted to talk to, and particularly that we were not able to talk to